So a lot of times people say, Brian, guaranteed income is very important to me. Is there any tools that I can position some of my money in there where I cannot outlive my money? The biggest mistake many retirees make when it comes to investing is not having their accounts set up properly for handling market volatility. Markets are going to be very volatile for the next several years. Many people forgot about market volatility back between 2010 and 2020 when the market just steadily went up with very little volatility. That was a very abnormal decade. And most times or most decades, it's not like that. Most decades, you're going to see some very good years, some bad years. You're going to see a lot of up and downs. And so to handle that market volatility, you have to have your buckets set up properly between at-risk money, minimal risk money, and no-risk money. If you have your buckets balanced set up properly, then no matter what the market does, you always have a source or a bucket to go get money if you need it for income or other things without having to sell at a down position. The biggest mistake most people make in retirement, or the biggest threat to a retirement nest egg, is pulling money out of a down account. If you do that, it's very difficult to ever catch up. So again, you got to have your buckets balanced properly to be able to handle market volatility between no risk, minimal risk, and at-risk monies. Retirees can protect their savings without missing out on growth, again, by having your buckets balanced properly. If you always have money in the right position for income, no matter what the markets are doing, you always have a source to be able to go get money without hurting your position. So again, the key is to make sure you don't have all your money in a position that can take hits, because again, when you lose money in the markets, it takes more to get back to even. So if you lose 10%, in the market, it's not too bad. You only have to make 11% to get back to even. But if you lose 20%, you got to get 25% to get back to even. If you lose 30%, you got to make 43% to get back to even. And if you lose 50% of money, you got to make double just to get back to even. And if you pull money out for income in those time periods, you'll never catch up. The key, again, to be able to handle market volatility in retirement and grow your money the most effective way is having the proper balance with different tools to be able to make sure your money's growing no matter what the overall markets are doing. There's always a bull market somewhere. You want to have money in a position to take advantage of that no matter what's happening in the overall markets. There's a lot of different tools out there designed for income. Now, a lot of times what's one of the most important things for people to do in retirement, and one of the most important things for them to set up in retirement, is to have the proper income plan set up. Now, there's a lot of tools that you can use for that income. Now, unfortunately, most people don't have a pension when they retire anymore. Most of the time, it's just Social Security and then what you're going to draw from your retirement nest egg. And so a lot of times people say, Brian, guaranteed income is very important to me. Is there any tools that I can position some of my money in there where I cannot outlive my money? And fortunately, there are some good tools out there that you're able to take advantage of to build your own pension plan and put some money in a position that you can take income from your entire lifetime or set it up over a joint lifetime for you and a spouse. Income is key in retirement, and you may very well want to position some of your money in a tool that can provide you lifetime income no matter what the markets do. A lot of times we get asked the question, how often should we rebalance our portfolio? Well, that depends on your goals, your objectives, and what type of tools you're using. So again, rebalancing is very important, but you also want to make sure you're using tools that can rebalance on an automatic basis. So a lot of times people say, well, how often are we going to meet to rebalance our portfolio? That depends on what tools you're using, but it doesn't have to be a meeting to do that. In our practice, since we only work with people 50 and older, handling their retirement years, we use tools that rebalance things on a regular basis as market conditions change. So the key is to make sure your accounts are watched on a day-to-day basis and adjustments are made as needed to keep your accounts in a position for maximum growth, tax efficiency, income planning, and limited risk. A lot of times we get asked the question, as I get close to retirement, how does my investments need to be set up? Well, the game changes as you get closer to retirement. We say in your retirement years, you need to shift from more of a prime growth strategy to more of a prime preservation and income strategy. Obviously, you still need growth throughout your retirement years because you very well could be in retirement for 20, 30, 40 years or more. And you have to have your plans set up to provide increasing income during that time period. So again, you need to actually reposition as you get closer to retirement to minimize your risk and get things set up to be more in a prime preservation distribution mode with tax efficiency. A lot of times people come to us and getting ready to retire. They feel they don't have enough money to retire, but yet they want to retire anyway. So they feel the only solution is to get real aggressive. And that can be a big mistake because markets can be very volatile. And depending on what's happening in the markets, there's a lot of different tools out there. And if you position your money in a bunch of individual equities or individual stocks of companies you feel very good about, well, individual stocks can be very, very volatile. You could get a good report and all of a sudden something happens and that stock can fall very quickly. So you got to make sure you don't have your portfolio set up to be too aggressive into two individual stocks because, again, individual stocks are very volatile. What you want to do is use the proper tools to manage that volatility properly, help grow your portfolio very well over your retirement years, but also give you the ability to rely on that money at all times. So one of the key things to do in your pre-retirement, retirement years, if you haven't done it already, is have your portfolio stress tested to really get an idea of how much risk you're actually taking. Get an idea, say, hey, if this happens in the markets, here's how much you could lose if your portfolio remains the same. So you want to have a stress test done to really get an idea how much risk you're taking and to see if you're using the proper tools for your specific situation. So a key is to get your portfolio stress tested to make sure your portfolio is set up properly for your pre-retirement, retirement years to give you maximum growth, minimal risk, tax efficiency, and lifetime income.